Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and a lot of you have written in asking me about this Fine Brothers and React World controversy, so I figured I would do a quick video here. I'll try not to ramble in this because it's very complicated, but to give you my opinion of this whole thing, because a lot of you have been asking, and I think it's warranting its own video versus being stuck into the wrap-up or something else on the channel here. So in a nutshell, what's happening here is the Fine Brothers have a very popular YouTube channel. They are independent creators that have been on the platform since the early days. They've come from the same soil as all of us other independent creators building these grassroots things, and they've got a business going now. They've got a couple of million subscribers. They have a lot of content that they do. I'm sure they do other things outside of YouTube as well to make money, and they've built a business around the media properties that they have created, and that is a great thing. And here in the United States, the American dream is to start from nothing and build up into something really cool, and that is what they have been doing up until this whole incident occurred. So a couple days ago, they came out on YouTube and said, we've got exciting news. We're going to create this thing called React World, and now all of you can make videos licensed under our brand name with people reacting to things. And normally I would say this is allowable and fine for them to do, because if the Fine Brothers decide that they want to register Kids React, I think there's actually enough examples of their use of this in commerce that's unique to their content that they could probably say that if you call your video Kids React, they probably have some ownership of that brand title, because that is their branding and they do own that. And I think, again, those two words together of kids in a video reacting to things, I think is probably within their rights to register as a brand name. It makes sense. They use Burger King as an example. Burgers are a very generic thing, but Burger King is a brand that you can't create your own Burger King restaurant and expect to be able to use that without attracting the attention of Burger King's lawyers. So what they want to do is allow you to use Kids React in your own videos if you let them take a portion of your revenue. And in exchange, they'll let you use some of their artwork, use their branding, and it could actually help you. And I liken this to like TED versus TEDx, because TEDx Talks are not official TED Talks, but they are licensed by the main TED organization to allow people to host smaller events in their communities. And that all is fine. I think some people have gone a little bit over the top on that part, but I think, from a legal perspective, I'm not a lawyer, but I have trademarks that I have defended in my day job, and I think they're within their rights there to declare that as their property. They've been doing it long enough. But what they're trying to do here, in addition to just the branding, is also trademark the genre. And they've been talking about in their responses to some of the vitriol that has erupted over this whole incident, to say that it's not just the name of the video they're trying to make licenses for. They also want to make sure that people are aware that there's a structure that is part of this trademark, that there's a certain structure to how the video is constructed, that I think if somebody were to violate that structure in their mind, in other words, use the same structure in their own video but calling it something else, that they feel it would be within their rights to come after somebody on. And that is where I'm really concerned. It's one thing to register a brand name or something else, but it's another thing to try to trademark a genre. It's like George Lucas saying, I own spaceship starfighter movies, and that's it. And you saw when, well, I don't know if you all saw, but when I saw Star Wars come out in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of knockoff movies that were not as good, and you probably never heard of them again, but they were out there because people really wanted to watch spaceships shooting at each other in space. And George Lucas couldn't register that trademark to that genre. He did the next best thing, though. He started a company where he actually makes the special effects for everyone that wants to make their own spaceship movie, which is a very smart thing to do, and it made him very, very wealthy. But what the Fine Brothers are trying to do here is to say, if you make a video of people reacting, no matter what you call it, we could be within our rights to take that video down. Now, if we were in a different world where this content existed just on some other website, it'd be a lot harder to take this stuff down. But because a lot of us are on YouTube, a lot of us are making livings, or in my case, a portion of my living making videos on YouTube, unfortunately, YouTube has gotten a little bit too easy to take things down on YouTube when you are a trademark holder. And in some ways, this is a good thing. In some ways, this is a bad thing. So it's good in the sense that when someone takes my video and re-uploads it, they very quickly react to my request for them to take down that copied video, because no one's adding any value to this thing. There's no fair use. If you grab my video, download it, and re-upload it onto your channel and start earning revenue on it, that's stealing from me. However, there is areas of fair use where if someone wanted to tell me what an idiot I was, maybe somebody could take this video and just take it apart and tell me what an idiot I am in every segment. You can do that, provided you're not using more than you need to make your point. And I think that's something where a lot of people have been taken down by the Fine Brothers, have been falling into this a little bit, where they take the entire Fine Brothers video and then react to it as it's playing. You can't really do that. You have to take out the portion that is relevant to your commentary and not more than you need to make your point. That's kind of how fair use works, and that's been what's going on. However, on YouTube, unfortunately, that interpretation is often not even interpreted by the platform, because a big content creator can come by and say, you know what, Lon's video here is saying something I don't like. I'm going to say that they're using my React logo illegally, and I want that taken down. And YouTube often just takes it down immediately, partly because the law requires them to do so, even if there hasn't been any kind of review as to whether or not it's a valid claim. And the reason is that the Digital Millennium Copyright Act here in the United States grants platforms like YouTube what's called safe harbor, provided they react very quickly to what brands or trademark owners are asking them to do. So for example, if the Fine Brothers see their logo in my video here and decide that they don't like this, and they file a DMCA takedown request to YouTube, YouTube will take this video down. They'll take it right down immediately, and they might assign other copyright strikes to me or whatever in the process based on whatever their terms of service are. It's wrong to do this in my mind, just because people are making a living here, and it's so easy to have critical content removed by those you are criticizing. But that's the law, because if YouTube doesn't react to DMCA takedown requests like this in a consistent way every time, then they could open themselves up to potential litigation, or just open themselves up for lawsuits that might show that they're not always reacting the same way to every kind of DMCA takedown that they get. So that is why videos get taken down very quickly. But we all have rights of appeal. So I could appeal that DMCA request to YouTube. YouTube could review that and put the video back up if they so choose. However, more often than not, two things happen. One is that a content creator is so tiny that they don't know the law, or they just don't have time to deal with it, so they just go away. And unfortunately, there's probably a lot of great people who could have done some great things in the platform that got one of these nasty things and decided this isn't for them and never appealed it. But number two, sometimes people appeal it, and whatever person at YouTube looks at it just decides, you know what, screw it, we're not going to put this video back up. We don't want to deal with Disney suing us. So sometimes just that opinion of someone at YouTube is enough to just decide, okay, we're just not going to touch this. Let it stay down, and that's it. And if it's a small creator that's not making a lot of money on the platform, YouTube isn't all that motivated to actually respond to that creator in any way that would get their content back up. And that's often, I think, what happens. It's hard to prove that, but I have some experiences in my early days of these things happening, and I think that more often than not, people don't bother to go through the effort. Now, if YouTube decides that your content is not going to go up even after you file an appeal, you can then get a lawyer and go through the whole process of suing the original trademark owner for doing this to you. But as you all know, getting lawyers to sue people is very expensive. And for me as a small channel, hiring a lawyer to go sue Disney or somebody, or even the Fine Brothers, is going to be something that's probably not worth it. It's just easier for that video to stay down and down completely, and that'll be the end of it. And unfortunately, that's what happens more often than not on the platform. And I think what YouTube can do to prevent this kind of stuff from happening is actually advocate stronger for its creators, because a lot of times creators will file an appeal, it'll get denied. I think like Eli the Computer Guy is one example. There's a whole bunch of people over the last 2 weeks that have had this happen to them. Some rather large channels who have no communication from YouTube whatsoever. They just deny them their appeal, the video stays down, their monetization is gone, and their businesses are essentially shuttered because 80% of their revenue is gone overnight because somebody filed a frivolous takedown request. And there's no recourse. I have a partner manager. I haven't had this issue yet, so I'm actually going to talk to my partner manager tomorrow when I speak with him to see if there's if they can actually help with these things, because everyone should know what their process is, kind of as a an emergency plan for when something gets taken down like this. But more often than not, nobody knows why these videos were not rejected on the appeal, and sometimes when they get put back up, nobody tells them why they got put back up either. And YouTube doesn't tell you because they don't want to open themselves up for future litigation. But I think we need some change here, because YouTube is now big enough to the point where people are earning a living on this platform, and as long as this system remains not transparent, opaque, and as long as we don't really know how they decide things, and there really should be some kind of judicial council of some kind that really looks at these things closely, because the Fine Brothers thing here is exactly the kind of abuse that trademark holders can take on the platform. If they had something that made it harder for someone to prove their case that they can trademark a genre, this wouldn't be happening. But I think they're seeing an opening where they know that YouTube is very reluctant to take the side of their content creators. There are some examples lately where they've been trying to defend some fair use cases, but more often than not, they don't. And because it's so easy for the trademark holder to pull stuff down, why not do this and make some money? Because more often than not, a little creator is not going to bother fighting it anyhow. So I see this as a really disappointing thing for the Fine brothers. Again, a group of people who started from the same dirt that I'm starting from, working our way up the ladder here, working really hard, putting in a lot of long hours to build something that people really like. And now that they're big, they're going to, kind of look at the genre that they didn't really invent and try to own it and know that the YouTube process is such that they probably will be able to get away with it. And I think that is the biggest problem here because they will be obligated to defend their mark. If they do believe they have ownership to the structure of a React video, they are going to be obligated under trademark law to defend it, because every time you don't defend it, it gives someone who you're going after the ability to say, well, they didn't go after this guy, but they're going after me. So they have to defend all of those uses of it. And I think it's wrong for them to decide that the structure of videos is the issue. So I think what they should do is take this structure argument out of the picture completely, because I don't think that's the right thing to do. If they want to do React, kids react to whatever, fine, with the logo and whatever else. I think that's fine. But don't stop me from saying kids respond to the Apple IIgs. Maybe one day I'll bring my daughter up here when she's a little bit older and we'll watch her try to use my old computer that I used when I was her age. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's funny. And it's been, I think people have been reacting to kids probably since ancient times. So it's stupid. So hopefully they will see the error of their ways here. I think they can still do what they're trying to do, but don't try to take the genre away. I think that is the wrong thing to do. I do want to say one thing before I close out, because I have dealt with another issue on YouTube called Content ID. And as you know, I love the space program. I do space videos from time to time, and I often take NASA footage and put it on my channel. And that is completely allowable under public domain, because NASA footage is completely free of use for anyone in the world to use. You can take their rocket launches and put them into your videos, no problem whatsoever. However, I had an incident a couple of years ago where I covered the landing of the Mars rover on the red planet. We did a live stream, and I was pulling in, it was really fun. I took NASA's live TV feed and was bringing it into this live stream that I was doing. I had guests on. We were talking about what was happening. It was really, really fun. Now, what happened was the next morning, I had 5 different claims on that video. And the reason is that all these big news organizations that have access to the YouTube Content ID system, they basically flagged my video automatically. There was nobody even looking at it, and they took monetization away immediately on that video. And for me, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was the principle of the whole thing. So I got on Ars Technica. They did a whole write-up on it. I think I made the front page of Reddit that day also. It was really cool to see the community kind of react to this sort of thing. And those claims were taken down pretty quickly, but those major media organizations had to actually initiate that. So the way the Content ID system works is that it works outside of DMCA. So what'll happen is that if somebody makes a Content ID claim, it's not technically a DMCA claim. It's within YouTube's own terms of service. So if they make a claim on my video, they can either take it down, they can monetize it, or they can make it so that it isn't viewable in some countries. And if I appeal that, the video remains down until, or in this state of monetization flux, until the other side responds. So they could either agree with my appeal, not YouTube, but the actual trademark holder. They can agree with my appeal and remove the hold, or they can just sit on it for 30 days and do nothing at the end of 30 days and I get my content back, or they can appeal back and then the DMCA process begins and now the lawyers are involved and everything else. And the reason why YouTube does this is that it gives the ability for people to use content illegally essentially, yet still have a license essentially granted by turning over your revenue to the content holder. And this is abused more often than not. And I had an issue with that same video. So after those 5 people went away, Fox News came in and then claimed a portion of one of my videos, again, a NASA video. And instead of responding to my request, they sat on it for 30 days. And if you're doing news on the internet, news is dead the next morning. So all of your views are really going to be relevant within the first 2 or 3 days. So for them to sit on it for 30 days was anti-competitive. But I just don't have the resources to go sue Fox. And quite honestly, my damages were like $20, or even if that. So it wasn't even worth the effort to go after them. But I think that's what's happening more often than not on the platform is rampant abuse of this system, both the DMCA system and the Content ID system. And the best thing that could happen here is for YouTube to finally come up with a process that protects their creators, who, by the way, are making the money, and who also depend on YouTube for their livelihoods now, to at least so we know where we can go for this stuff and know that there might be some kind of fair process that doesn't involve a courtroom, maybe even some arbitration process where we can all plead our case to somebody and have someone who has knowledge of the law to make a proper decision so that people stop abusing the system. And the best thing they can do is to go after people who do abuse it. Fox News didn't get any penalty for sitting on my video for 30 days, but if they are frequently going after people in a very aggressive way, flagging content that they have no right to flag under Content ID or DMCA, then they should be penalized by YouTube for that, and they're not being penalized at all to my knowledge. And I think that is also probably the biggest problem there. So the Fine Brothers can do what they do because of YouTube's lack of transparency on things and the fact that they don't want to get in the middle of a lot of these disputes, but I think it's about time that they do, because this is the kind of stuff that's going to continue. And for the Fine Brothers, register your name, but registering a genre, shame on you. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. This channel is brought to you by the generosity of my Patreon supporters. If you find the channel helpful, you too can contribute for as little as $1 a month. Visit Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more.